Good morning, y'all. So this morning we are in Leviticus chapter 2, and this is the laws for grain offerings as we're going through the Bible book by book. I hope you'll join me. And then Leviticus, this can also be found in Leviticus 6:14 through 23. Blessings to all of you who follow, and I say this in Yeshua's name. I use the Blue Bible Hub, and the reason why I use the Blue Bible Hub is because it can show you where there's other places in the Word that mirror and add the same verses where you can find the same thing. So the Bible interprets the Bible. And isn't that amazing? I think that's how God truly designed this Word to be done. So, when anyone brings a grain offering to the Lord, his offering must consist of fine flour. He is to pour olive oil on it, but put frankincense on it and bring it to Aaron's son, the priest. The priest shall take a handful of the flour and oil together with all the frankincense and burn this as a memorial portion on the altar, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The remainder of the grain offering shall belong to Aaron and to his sons. It is a most holy part of the offerings made by fire to the Lord. Now, if you bring an offering of grain baked in an oven, it must consist of fine flour, either unleavened cakes mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers coated with oil. If your offering is a grain offering prepared on a griddle, it must be unleavened bread made of fine flour mixed with oil. Crumble it and pour it on it. It is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering cooked in a pan, it must consist of fine flour with oil. When you bring the Lord the grain offering made in any of these ways, it is to be presented to the priest, and he shall take it to the altar. The priest is to remove the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar as an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But the remainder of the grain offering shall belong to Aaron and his sons. It is a most holy part of the offerings made by fire to the Lord. No grain offering that is present to the Lord may be made with leaven, for you are not to burn any leaven or honey as an offering made by fire to the Lord. You may bring them to the Lord as an offering of first fruits, but they are not to be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma. And you shall season each of your grain offerings with salt. You must not leave the salt of the covenant or of your God out of your grain offering. You are to add the salt to each of your offerings. If you bring in a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, you shall offer crushed heads of new grain roasted on the fire, and you are to put oil and frankincense on it. It is a grain offering. The priest shall then burn the memorial portion of the crushed grain and the oil together with all its frankincense as an offering made by fire to the Lord. So as we start to go through here and understand how these things, frankincense is very powerful for the Lord. And I often use a frankincense oil to anoint my head with daily. What are you using? Leviticus 6:14 through 23. Now this is the law of the grain offering. Aaron's sons shall present it before the Lord in front of the altar. The priest is to remove a handful of fine flour and olive oil together with all the frankincense from the grain offering and burn the memorial portion on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. He loves the smell of frankincense. That's a character that as we're deep diving in and we're learning about the Lord, that's something to write down and to remember about your husband. He loves frankincense. Aaron and his sons are to eat the remainder. It must be eaten without leaven in a holy place. They are to eat it in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. It must not be baked with leaven. I have assigned it as their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Any male among the sons of Aaron may eat it. This is a permanent portion from the offerings made by fire to the Lord for the generations to come. Anything that touches them will become holy. Then the Lord said to Moses, "This is the offering that Aaron and his sons must present to the Lord on the day he is anointed: a tenth of an ephah of fine flour, and a regular grain offering, half of it in the morning and half in the evening. It shall be prepared with oil on a griddle. You are to bring it well kneaded and present it as a grain offering, broken in pieces, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The priest, who is one of the sons of Aaron's sons, and will be anointed to take his place, is to prepare it as a permanent portion for the Lord. It must be burned completely. Every grain offering for the priest shall be burned completely. It is not to be eaten. So it is a sweet, savoring scent that rises up to the heavens, like your prayers. Your prayers are a sweet, smelling aroma unto the courts of heaven. When you've come and repented of all your sins, and you have humbled yourself with a broken and contrite heart and asked the Lord to forgive you, when you pray, your prayer is an incense that rises up into the heavens, into the heavenlies, and it's sweet, savoring unto the Lord, just like this. Isn't that amazing? I pray that this helps you today, and I pray you go forth and you have a blessed new day. And I say this in Yeshua's name.